Jo Hall is the CEO of Wool Producers Australia. She joins us again. Jo, you're back from India. What did you bring me?
Hi, Ricky. I'm sorry I have run out of souvenirs to hand out, but next time maybe.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've got plenty of goodies to bring back in terms of good news for wool producers. What was the purpose of the trip in India? We did talk in advance of the trip, but what were you hoping to achieve over there, and did you achieve it?
So, Ricky, overall, the trip was very positive, and why we went over there was to participate in the first India-Australia Wool Working Group meeting. So there was an Australian delegation comprising of representatives from wool producers, Australian Wool Testing Authority, Australian Wool Exporters and Processing Council, and the Woolmark Company. And we met with our Indian textile counterparts and discussed ways to work on mutually beneficial projects together to not only better our industry but also enhance the Indian textile trade.
And so is there talk there on the processing front potentially as well, or is that more the focus in Southeast Asia for wool producers?
So there was a broad range of discussions. One of them was early stage processing and looking to expand that, which we will also be doing through our ATMAC grant, which we recently received. But there was also things like talking about renewing the MOU between the Indian industry and ourselves, workforce issues, and a whole raft of other mutually beneficial programs.
And when we talk about workforce issues, we know we've had this labour shortage and a protracted shearing series. Is there positivity that we may be able to see perhaps some Indian shearers coming our way in future?
Look, there was certainly a positive response to that idea and interest, and it's something that we will continue working with the Indians about. We also had a meeting with the Australian High Commissioner, Barry O'Farrell, in Delhi while we were there, and he was also supportive of that, of further investigation. Just as an aside, there was a really interesting fact that there are 1 million people in India that turn 18 every month. So there is certainly a pool of people there that are very willing to work.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess we've also got the opportunity to send some of our product over there as well. Is there an interest maybe at the higher end of the socio-economic scale to some quality wool products?
Definitely. So India's economy is expected to see some rapid growth. They have a population of 1.4 billion people. Obviously, there's some poverty in India, but there is an emerging middle class, and there is also that 5 to 10% of, quite wealthy Indians. So when you're looking at a population of 1.4 billion, 5 to 10% actually equates to quite a few people. So there is definitely interest. India currently takes about 6% of our clip and is the second largest single country importer of Australian wool. We would like to see that grow, and that's definitely the aim of these, the commencement of these relationships.
Well, on the relationship front, in terms of working with our partners just to our north, and you mentioned the ATMAC grant recently. Maybe you could tell us what that acronym stands for as well. But isn't it all largely about expanding our processing opportunities in the region?
So, and sorry for the jargon, ATMAC is the Australian Trade Market Access Cooperative Agreement, and we were successful in getting a grant at the end of 2021 to explore the feasibility of domestic processing, but also looking at countries that could be investigated to expand first stage processing. Vietnam, India, Bangladesh and Indonesia were identified as 4 countries, and we have just been announced as a successful recipient of a Phase 2 grant under that program to further explore that and develop business cases. So we're quite excited about that, and we're just in the process of calling for tenders for that work.
And Jo, looking at relations a little bit further to the north, domestically, we've got a lot of wool we need to move through the wool market, and we need China buying happily. The good news that came just after Easter that barley might be back on the agenda with exports from Australia to China. Are we possibly seeing a warming of our relationship with China and possibly purchasing more of our wool?
Obviously, there seems to be a better relationship with China. I won't comment on other industries, but the Australian wool industry and China continue to have a really good relationship. We've had a very long relationship with China spanning about 50 years. So we were very lucky that China continued to buy our products because they're just as invested in the wool industry as what we are here in Australia.
Yeah, a very good point, and hopefully positive news all across the trade front for Australian exporters and farmers going forward. Joey, so much to cover there in our update for our wool producers. Thanks for joining us today on Flow.
Thanks very much, Ricky.